literally our first job was moving rubbish on the back of a trailer, charging 25 quid each. The construction side does about £5 million worth of revenue. Joinery company, Preferred Joinery, does about £1 million. We own about £16 million worth of property. I'll talk to you about one of the vans getting broken into and how it's affected me emotionally. I've been quite open about the impacts and the stress of business on my personal life and my mental health. So I've always tried to be open and honest about things like that. And then in turn, that's had like a two-pronged effect really, in that I've customers, as in the end users, people buy from people. So I've kind of endeared ourselves to those, and people know who they're buying with and know that we're a good company at the heart of it. And we always want to do a good job, and we might make mistakes, but we always put them right. We pick things that we enjoy. And I love construction. I love offering good service. We love property. So Alex and I just target areas where we think we can add value, or maybe there's just that little 5% missing that we could add to it.
So if you've not watched the YouTube channel, EveryTrade, then you're living under a rock. You might follow them on Instagram as well, because they've been on Instagram for a while now. But YouTube is more of like a recent thing they've started in the last couple of months. So yeah, Chris, can you just tell us what you do, where you're from, etc., and just introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks for the invite, mate. I appreciate it, and I'm honoured to be your first guest. We were just saying before we started rolling there that there's not many construction-based podcasts out there. I know that I will listen, and I know there's people out there that would listen between going to jobs and things like that at night time. So yeah, it's good. So yeah, I and my business partner Alex Riddick own EveryTrade. We're actually called TDG Contracts Limited, but everyone knows us as EveryTrade because it's a little bit more social media friendly. But that's just one part of a group of companies that we own. So we own a company called Preferred Joinery, which makes bespoke joinery items such as sash windows, staircases, one-of-one doors and things like that. We own Emperor Property, which is our property portfolio. That's the company that set up to run our property portfolio. So we've got 26 student HMOs. We own some land that we're developing on in Stockport, which is near Manchester, and also in Liverpool as well, which we got planning permission for a gym for. We also are building a letting agency side of the business to look after our stuff and also other people's property. And we're just, which you might, people that watch our YouTube channel, we're just setting up a grab and aggregates yard as well, which will obviously look after ourselves, but look after other builders, contractors, landscapers, anyone looking to take on a project in their garden, etc. So long story short, we're into all sorts, but most of it has got a construction theme or a property theme running through it.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing, and it's amazing that you've got your fingers in a lot of pies, so to speak, because having a lot of revenue streams in construction especially is so important. And you can definitely get to like maybe $1 million annual revenue doing just one specialized construction, but having loads of different types and then mixing them together is how you actually build wealth, so to speak. But we'll get into more of that later. Now, because I'm actually a fan of EveryTrade, I know your backstory, but just so a lot of people might be watching for the first time, or they maybe might not have heard of you yet, you actually started in TV, right? How did you get from that point to where you are now?
So, yeah, when you say starting TV, it sounds like I was some kind of a TV presenter or something, but basically, I was a bit of an underachiever at school. I got okay GCSE results, probably a little bit better than I expected. So I didn't make any plans post-school. I almost had an apprenticeship lined up with my uncle, who is an electrician, which we'll come back to in a minute. And so I got my results. I got them weeks after everyone else because I didn't bother going to get them. I just had to go and get them because the school kept ringing my mum. Got my results and I was like, oh, I've done all right here. I could probably get into college. So I got on the bus with my pal, went down to the local college, Stockport College, and I said, all right, I want to join a course. And they said, what do you want to do? And I said, business. And they said, it's full. So then I was like, okay, what else do I like? Construction wasn't really into at the time. So I said, oh, about media studies. And obviously, that's one of the sort of lower barrier to entry courses there is. So I went and did media for a year, which is kind of just basically messing about, which is what I did for a year. And then actually enjoyed the whole creative production side. So then I ended up doing a degree in broadcasting. And then from there, I got a job straight away from uni at ITV. I was very lucky actually, and then I just worked in the entertainment department, making TV shows. Like worked on the Ant Deck Saturday Night Takeaway a little bit. I worked on a show, You've Been Framed. If anyone remembers that one, that was kind of like the show I worked on most. I worked on a show with Take That. Just did quite a few bits. Did that for about 3 years, and then out of the blue, I found out I was going to be a dad. So I was with a girl who it was kind of very new, and yeah, she got pregnant. So I realised there it was kind of like an epiphany. I was like 25, and I realised that I couldn't probably get to where I want to get to in life by being in TV, because at best you get 4 weeks, a 4-week contract. There was no job security. They used to let you go at Christmas and take you back on in January. So I just realised that this probably wasn't ever going to give me the life that I wanted. I'd always been into business, I'd always been quite entrepreneurial. I was always doing a bit of buying and selling. And at the time, it coincided with the recession of 2008, 2009. And my dad was a general builder, decorator. My uncle, who I mentioned before, was an electrician. And they had no work. So I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll try and help you find a bit of work. And I was helping my uncle and my dad out and did quite well. And it just gave me an idea that one day I thought, God, I had this idea when I was really young that I'd forgotten about, this sort of supermarket of trades. And I thought, that's an idea, maybe I could do that. So I had a chat with my uncle and my dad, and I was like, I could go out and find the work, and then you could do it. And we've got another uncle that's a tradesman, and let's just see what we can do. And yeah, it kind of just went from that. So we did 1,000 leaflets. We had 200 quid each, actually. So 400 quid. We did 1,000 leaflets, and literally our first job was moving rubbish on the back of a trailer, charging 25 quid each. Then we got a job changing a light switch for an old age pensioner, and then it just went from there. And then lo and behold, blew up into this, what it is today, which the construction side does about £5 million worth of revenue. The joinery company, Preferred Joinery, does about £1 million. We own about £16 million worth of property. And yeah, like you said about before about revenue streams, that is my belief. I don't actually want to build a mammoth construction company. I don't want to build skyscrapers and football stadiums. I'll leave that to the tier 1 contractors and the big boys. I just believe that there was a gap in the market for a really well-run domestic construction company, and we do some commercial stuff. And I believe that I didn't expect it to get to £5 million of revenue. It just happened. And if it grows organically, it grows organically. But really, what I like doing now is looking at other sort of trades and services with synergy to the construction piece, and try and either start and build something or acquire a business or businesses around them. And Alex and I, my business partner, that's basically our strategy going forward, running parallel with the property strategy, which is essentially a long-term bet, because it's boring for many, but property is one of the safest asset classes, because there's not enough property for people. Really simple metric. This country doesn't build enough houses. So if we can provide in certain areas of property good quality rental stock, then that's what we're here to do. So yeah, we're into all sorts, to be honest, and I do that because we pick things that we enjoy. And I love construction. I love offering good service. We love property. So Alex and I just target areas where we think we can add value, or maybe there's just that little 5% missing that we could add to it. But listen, we're not the finished article. We're still learning as we go. But yeah, that's in a nutshell. That's my story, really. I mean, it'd take more than an hour's podcast to tell you my full story and all the highs and lows. But yeah, that's kind of what brought me here today, and we're 15 years on now.
Yeah, that sounds incredible. And yeah, I can tell that you've definitely summarized the highs and lows in that. What would you say the turning point was where you went from, because you did handyman stuff, you said. What would you say was the turning point where you were doing that, and then you started, getting subbies in, or you started hiring people, and you were like, this is a turning point now. I might actually build something of this.
Do you know what? It was, I think we got a job in a school And so, yeah, we started out, and the idea of the business actually was called The Domestic Genius. And my idea was this kind of handyman, all trades point of contact. There was handymen about, but my uncle was an electrician, so I wanted to tap into that, and he could also do plumbing, and my dad was a general builder, the painter, so we had a lot of trades covered. So I thought, you know what, we'll aim at like the housewives, if there's such thing as exist these days, and that kind of thing. And then we got a job at a school, and it kind of escalated there. And I tell a story where I was in Selco, the builders merchants, and I was getting gear for a job, and I had a van that said The Domestic Genius down the side of it. And I overheard a few builders taking the piss out of us and laughing about it. And that made me think, you know what, this brand probably isn't right for what I want to do and where the sort of direction of the company was going. So I basically thought, well, I need a really boring corporate sounding name. So I picked the initials, it was TDG Contracts Limited. And that's it, and that is us. But I think when the school started sending work our way, the contract value was sort of going up from 50 quid to £1,000 to 10 grand to 40 grand. So then we got a 100 grand refit, and then we got a 150 grand full house reinstatement. Thought, you know what, there's money to be made in this. And actually, even though I wanted to stand out, I thought being a more sort of general builder contractor is the way to go. So then that's the direction it took us. And then I found at the same time we discovered, so this is like what, 2010, 11, I discovered Google AdWords, so PPC, and I found a way of basically getting work. So I got quite good at that, and I think my media background, the television background, has always helped me at certain points. I'm quite good at branding, and I'm good at sort of putting spin on things and gloss on things to make it accessible to the end user. So I utilised that skill set really, and it went bananas. Like I said, first year, 120 grand worth of revenue, which was like, wow, it's amazing. Didn't expect anything like that. And then literally it doubled year upon year upon year, and to the point where the last couple of years it's kind of like leveled out a bit, but we've essentially it's kind of gone that way.
Yeah, that's incredible to see. And I think what you mentioned there about Google AdWords, especially back then, because how long ago was this roughly?
Yeah, so this was, well, God, getting a while. This is, so probably put my first Google AdWord out in 2010, first campaign, and I paused it in 2013 because I then found that social media was a lot more of a cost effective way, and that's when we really sort of went from there to there, because I've got on Facebook and then Instagram, and what I've done for people that have followed is I've always just tried to tell a story, and that's why our YouTube page is called Behind the Build, because there's loads of pages out there giving before and after, or giving this is how we did this and stuff. But I wanted to sort of tell the story of what goes on behind the build, but at the same time demonstrate what we are doing. So you'll find my content's really varied. Sometimes it's this is how we. This is a job that we finished. We're really proud of it. This is what it was like before. This is what it was like afterwards. But a lot of the time, I'll talk to you about warts and all issues. I'll talk to you about problems we've had. I'll talk to you about one of the vans getting broken into and how it's affected me emotionally. I've been quite open about the impacts and the stress of business on my personal life and my mental health. So I've always tried to be open and honest about things like that. And then in turn, that's had like a two-pronged effect really, in that I've customers, as in the end users, people buy from people, so I've kind of endeared ourselves to those, and people know who they're buying with and know that we're a good company at the heart of it, and we always want to do a good job, and we might make mistakes, but we always put them right. But on the other side, I've kind of attracted this kind of, or grown, should we say, this trade community of like other builders, and I'm very happy to do that, because something I always talk about is I don't really believe in competition and competitors. I believe that there's enough work out there for everyone, and I think a lot of people that have reached out to me will tell you that I've always been quite generous and transparent with my time and my learnings, over these last 15 years. My view is I've made mistakes, and I'd be happy to pass on the learnings of those mistakes to people that are coming up, because I didn't really have that when I was coming up. There was no real Instagram. It was there, but people weren't using it like they use it today, and there was no YouTube in the way it is today. Like now, these sort of channels and cult statuses and things like that, and real following, real community being built, wasn't really there. So people didn't really know what YouTube was. So it's only the last few years that that platform has really. I think there's never been a better time to get into business and to learn a trade and to learn a new skill, and that is across any skill set and any trade and any industry, because you've got a university in your pocket, in my opinion, which is YouTube and Google to some extent. And there are people out there that are being transparent, that are not, trying to keep the secret sauce. And I'm trying to be one of them, really, because I believe that, I might be giving competitors, a bit of inside knowledge, but I also believe that in turn, we're building a really strong brand that, will be, like, at the moment, there's probably a bit of a downturn in the industry, and I speak to a lot of people in the industry, and it is quiet, and it has been for a good few years. However, I believe that these things just happen, it's peaks and troughs, and when it does go back up again, we'll be first in line. The strongest brands and the best built businesses and the best run businesses will be at the top of the front of the queue and ready to get the work and take the cream of the work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think social media is such a powerhouse right now, especially I think it's going to be for the next few years, especially in the next decade. And anyone who has got that brand on social media and has got those followers and everything like that, they're going to be at such a big advantage in comparison to everyone else. And the construction industry, naturally, a lot of builders are they almost discount them or disqualify themselves from social media, from the start. They're like, oh, it's not for me, I'm not good on camera, all this, and they've got these beliefs about themselves that they can't do it. But really, it's really the exact opposite. Construction has so much potential on social media. All you have to, recording one job or how you do one job, there's so much to that, and there's so much interesting things to look at, and it's pretty incredible about how quick you can build a following. And I know someone called Jack. He's called Jack H Tiling on Instagram and TikTok, right? And he's got about 100,000 followers, right? And I remember messaging him about a year and a half ago or something, just chatting about his videos and stuff, and we had a good laugh. And then fast forward a year later, over 100,000 followers on Instagram, and he gets millions of views. He's been sponsored by Easy Bathrooms, and all his videos were recorded with a phone, with his phone, literally. Yeah.
And that's it. Phones these days, it's you sort of roll back 10 years and you get the best video camera that was on the market. The new iPhones are almost as good, and that's the thing. These platforms now incentivize people just to literally point and shoot, and and just literally put the content out there. What you've got to remember with social media, what we do in construction, I don't care what part of construction you're in, whether you're digging the ground or you're putting the roof on, it's a very visual sort of industry that we're in that there's before and afters, and at the heart of all good content, there should be a story, and there's always a story. I'm quite lucky because it's funny because I can speak from experience. My business partner Alex is quite an introvert person. He struggles to write content just because it's not his skill set, and also it kind of his Instagram page or our Emperor Instagram page, what he runs, it's kind of a reflection of his personality. Although he's got a lot better over time, and whereas I'm quite creative, and I think it comes from the TV background, and I was always quite good at, even though I'm dyslexic, I was always quite good at English and things like that. So I can turn a phrase. So I was quite good at just coming up with something. I pride myself, in the morning, sometimes when I'm bored, I'll just sprint through my phone history, land on a picture that's semi-relevant to what we're doing, and I challenge myself to write a post about that. What I would say, which is time and more, all this is consistency is key on social media, any type of social media. So if you're going to do it, and I mentor a few people as well, and this is what I tell them, be consistent, once a day in the morning, put a post out, you can go to the next level, and you can start literally hammering the stories, and you're almost living on social media. I just haven't got the time to do that, and I've got a professional videographer that works for me, but I don't want our channel to be our Instagram page and our social media channels to be overproduced. I want people to know it's coming from the owner of the business. So I could hire a team of videographers and it just wouldn't be what I'm trying to be. It wouldn't be a reflection of who I am. So all I would say is it's easier, and I get it. And if you've got the confidence, put yourself out there, because people buy from people. I say that all the time. I'll probably say it again on this podcast, but that's been brilliant. We've been to look at jobs, and before we've even got through the door, the customer's words are, "Look, I want you to do the job. It's just a question of whether I can afford you and if you're available." And sometimes they can't afford them, sometimes we're not available. But by and large, the job's won. So that it's been a brilliant tool, and I do think the way to do it and protect yourself from a future-proof point of view is to use all types of marketing. I like social media because it's so instant, but there's still a market for leaflets, magazine articles. The way I look at any kind of branding or any kind of marketing is, if you spend £1, can you make £2 back from it? So like, all my vans are sign written, and all my vans are black, and it's an expensive fleet, they're all new, but it's so powerful because I didn't used to believe this, but people that'll say, I will always say that, "How did you hear about it?" I said, "You know what? I see your vans around all the time, and I've never really needed you until when I did need you." And it clicked, and then I saw one of your Instagram posts, and I put the dots together, and here we are. So it's a mixture of like stimulative marketing and almost reactive marketing. So yeah, but the easiest, the cheapest, and I think the most sort of powerful is the social media. I mean, we're new to YouTube. I've been threatening to do YouTube for 2 or 3 years, and since COVID, and I didn't, because I didn't have the confidence to be on camera, and I'm still not confident now. I'm very good at sort of portraying this kind of like, yes, I'm confident, and it's almost not a real version of myself, but I'm getting there, and it comes with experience, and I'm caring less. I'm 40 now. You care less the older you get, but I wish I'd done that 3 years ago. And that's what I'll say about social media and any type of branding and marketing is, there's no better time to start than yesterday, because it's a land grab. Like you said in the question, it's a land grab in that it's eyeballs. It's a race for eyeballs. So the bigger you can build your real estate, your collection of eyeballs, the quicker you can do it, the bigger your community is going to be, and the bigger your demographic, your target audience is going to be.
It's 100% true, and it's really incredible. Like, the thing is, a lot of the time we become numb to a lot of what these huge brands and huge companies do. But the fact that they have been advertising, and they've been making content, and they've been on TV, the likes of Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Chanel, designer clothes, whatever company you can think of in your head, they've all been everywhere, and they've all been making content for decades, and there's a reason why they've been doing that. And the best example I can think of recent times is two gentlemen that everyone probably would have heard of, is KSI and Logan Paul.
Yeah.
And they were both just YouTubers. KSI started playing FIFA. I was one of his, as a kid, I was watching him growing up. Logan Paul made videos on Vine, both completely things that are just completely irrelevant to, what they did recently, which is when they launched their drink Prime. That is now worth, like, I think it's, the last time I checked, it's worth $5 or $6 billion.
Yeah.
And it's all about your brand. And like you said, people buy from people. And even though Prime probably isn't the best product out there, it's probably far from it, I've heard anyway. Their brand is what drives that, and it's what drives those sales to actually build what it is.
They're geniuses.
Yeah, exactly. And from what I was watching a podcast from KSI's manager, and about how he was talking about how KSI didn't want to do it at first, and he was basically forced into it by his manager because he recognized how big of an idea it was and how successful it could be. And he's a billionaire just off the back of that one decision. Like, even if he got rid of his YouTube, he got rid of his social media, the fact he has shares in Prime alone, he's become a billionaire from, which is just crazy to think about, from where he started and where he's got to. So that's your best example. And I'm not saying that, everyone has to have like 1 million followers to be successful. Like, I mean, you're the best example, right, Chris? From EveryTrade, the YouTube alone, how much traction and how much have you benefited from that?
Well, it's very early days for us, but it's amazing. That's the best thing about the YouTube thing for me, is that the people that I've met, even we've been doing it now. So when did we start? We started mid-January. and we're now, what are we in now, sort of mid-May. So, you know, we've kind of over 7,000 subscribers, which is blew my mind really. But you know, a lot of the people watching this will probably know Asheville, and I've been compared to him. I'll try to address it head on, and again, like, you will find a lot of influences in what we're trying to do from Asheville, but you know, don't forget, it's still niche. It's still quite a niche sector, right? And it, you know, and so it's not, you know, it's not, you know, gaming is huge, yeah. You know, it's like so many people out there that are gamers that obviously are already on YouTube. So that bit, you can understand how that gets traction. But in our thing, not really everyone is interested in the inner workings of a construction company or property developers, and you know, but so to see what Daniel's done there, he's a trailblazer, and it's amazing, and it's someone there. But this is at the heart of it. I always say, and this is why I won't accept that we are trying to copy anyone. Every business, every person, you included, has their own story to tell. Every business has a story that is different from the next story and the story that went before. So that's it. And I just think that what KSI and Logan Paul and Jake Paul and all these kind of people understand is attention. You know, it sells, and that's it. So, you know, in terms of what we're doing on the YouTube side of things, I don't know what I want that to be. All I know is that I'm really enjoying doing it. There's definitely work inquiries coming from it. So, you know, we put quite a lot of money into it. You know, we've got a full-time videographer. It costs probably thousands of pounds per episode, believe it or not. And, you know, and the pressure to get it out on time and with half decent standard is immense. So, you know, it's a big commitment to us, but we are committed to it. But I just, like, I probably wouldn't be speaking to you now if I hadn't been on YouTube, and that's the bit that I've really enjoyed, is sort of getting to know other like-minded people in the industry, and then some outside the industry as well. So yeah, it's been crazy really. But I feel like if our YouTube journey is a clock, we're at literally 10 seconds past midnight. I can see a huge upside, and I think that for me, I've really enjoyed it because it's kind of tapped into my creative side that I thought was going to be my living from the TV days. You know, that's the bit I liked about working in TV, was being creative, and being creative is very good for your mental health, and it's very good for a creative thought is a lot stronger than a negative thought. So you know, the actual thought process of putting these episodes together and stuff, and the ideas and whatnot, it's been brilliant. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, they're very, very well made, and you can tell straight away just watching them how much thought goes into them, and the fact you've got Alex in the Liverpool side, you know, showing the property stuff and then the preferred joinery stuff. It's incredible, and if anyone somehow hasn't watched you guys on YouTube yet or hasn't heard of you guys, they need to give your episodes a watch and learn from them, because you're either going to learn from watching other people do it, or you're going to learn from doing it yourself. And if you're not going to do it yourself, at least learn from what other people are doing at the moment.
And you know what? If you do watch it, you have watched it, obviously, but you'll see that I'm not trying to put on a show. Like, you have to do it. Like, what you got to remember, I'm a bit different to quite a lot of people in the industry. Is I am prepared to put myself out there and be a bit stupid and stuff and whatever, because you kind of need that to make it engaging. If I was very monosyllabic and very, like, you know, spoke very like low tones and didn't really throw my arms about and stuff, then maybe the channel wouldn't be as interesting. I could be wrong there, but what I am definitely is I am transparent. I'm honest. Like, I do this little section called Chris's Classroom, and some people are probably not that interested in it, but I know there's a lot of people, because they're telling me, they're messaging me, that are absolutely loving it, where I'm just trying to give a little bit of learning each week, a mistake that I've made coming up, or something good that we do that's really popular. You know, I'm essentially giving away strong things that are like very strong assets for our business, but I don't care, because my view is the connections that I will make, the sort of authenticity that I'm putting out there, will sort of appeal to customers and also other people in the industry, because you just don't know what. Alex and I met because of one Facebook post, and he bought half my company. You know, and it was a decent sized deal. So that there, if Facebook didn't exist, or I hadn't posted that one post, I wouldn't live where I live. You know, I wouldn't have the opportunities that I've had, and I wouldn't have the portfolio that I've got. So it's crazy, you know. And I just do think if you put it out there, and there is quite a lot of naysayers out there, and then, you know, getting my head around like trolls and negative emotional vampires, as I call them, has been difficult, because I've worked really hard to try and, you know, get rid of them from my life, and to then have a few of them comment on videos is a new thing. But I don't care really, because for every negative comment I've had probably 50, 60 positive ones, and people that are just like yourself that appreciate the content. So yeah, it's a journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you'll know very well, being in the industry so long. There's some really weird people in the construction industry, both in terms of like the builder side, but also online. Naturally, you're always going to get haters, and yeah, I've not noticed them myself, to be honest. Being a fan, like reading the comments and stuff, I've not noticed any hate at all. Obviously, you do mention it, and I get there's going to be the actual comparisons because of how long he's been doing it and how big his channel is and everything. But yeah, I don't pay any attention to those at all, very honestly.
No,
Like,
and I don't really. I mean, and to be honest with you, there's been nothing too personal or anything like that. And I think that's probably the one that would accept me. There's a couple of things that I can't stand in life. It's like, it's obviously, you know, my family. If anyone got personal about anything like that, that would really upset me. Or if people just criticise my business, I don't mind people taking the piss out of me and things like that. I can deal with that. Like, you know, I've dealt with that through my life, because you know, that's life, isn't it? Because if you put yourself out there, that's what happens. But if anyone criticises my business unfoundly, I can take criticism, but if they're not being fair, they don't really know us in the business. Like someone commented on, so I don't know if you know, follow World of Faber, and I do a few things with him, and he's got a really big following. And then someone, we've lent him a van for a bit because he's setting up on his own, and literally, say he got 100 comments, 99 of them were really positive, and you know, whatever. And there's one guy said, to Baz, you've gone down in my estimations. Why have you got that clown or them clowns on, i.e. EveryTrade, and you know, they need to learn one trade. I bet they've got no qualifications, and that again, that, you know, it doesn't bother me. Like, call me a clown, I don't care. That's fine. I'm very content of where I am in my life, and I've got a beautiful family and all that, and whatever, my health, and I'm very happy with that. But criticise my company, and I have to stand my ground. And I know everyone that's done well on YouTube will tell you, ignore the trolls, ignore all that. But I'll defend my company always, because I feel like I'm putting enough positivity out there that, you know, that I don't necessarily, my company doesn't deserve people that don't know us deserve to be that critical. You know, we don't deserve that level of criticism. But really, as the weeks go by, I'm desensitizing to it, and I'm not really bothered. And you know what? I absolutely love it. I've always loved being open and honest on social media, and I'm loving the YouTube thing. And my problem is, I'm very impatient, very ambitious. I just want the channel to skyrocket. And yeah, I absolutely love watching Asheville and Daniel, and he has inspired me. Like Dave from D&J Projects is another really good pal of mine, and they've made me like look at and I've got a decent sized business, but they've made me look at areas of my business. You know what, they're doing that. I like that. That looks fun. Or I can make money from that. So I've done it. I set up the grab site because of Asheville and Dave from D&J Projects. You know them. So, and that's it. And YouTube, we're so lucky. Of, you know, I think you're a bit younger than me, but our generation, these generations, that we've got this there. You know, this is the new medium. This is the way to learn. This is the way to be entertained. This is podcast, YouTube, and there'll probably something else come along. And it's never been better, because our parents and our parents' parents, they had to wait for the paper to land on the doorstep the next day to find out. And you know, when people were very guarded, the only way to sort of get knowledge was to go out and ask someone. So yeah, it's a unique time.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy when you think about it. Like, even because this is the first podcast I'm recording in the morning, you know, when I was having my breakfast, I was just thinking, like, because right after this in the afternoon, I'm going to record a podcast with a guy who's in the US, right, from New York, and I'll give you a little sneak peek. But he used to be a commercial contractor who's done about 2.5 billion in sales in his company. So like when I was having breakfast, I was just thinking like, I've been watching Chris's episodes, pretty much every single episode since he started. And then I was thinking, then there's this commercial contractor I'm going to have a chat with. And here I am in Manchester, right, just having my egg on toast. And I'm just going to go to my room to have a chat with him. Like, it's just crazy because it's just all through technology and it's all through social media. But yeah,
Yeah, at the
like
same time,
yeah.
it's something I'm taking from that is every single person with an internet connection and a device can do what you've done and put yourself out there, and take rejection and things like that. But you didn't. You chose to do it, and you reap what you sow. So you're creating those opportunities for yourself. And I genuinely believe it. Like once these podcasts go out and you part them on on all the podcast platforms and on YouTube, that's there for life. So that knowledge, anything that I'm trying to pass on here, and any questions you're asking me, that sort of content we're creating is there forever. And that how powerful is that? It's a moment in time. If you interview me again in a year's time, I might say, you know what, I said that last time, but actually I've learned from that now. I'm not going to do that. And that's amazing. Like, and there's not that many people that are willing to put themselves out there and be open. And if you've got someone there that's done a couple of billion in sales, I want to watch that. I'm interested in that because why wouldn't you want to aspire to someone like that?
Yeah, I know 100%. And like for anyone who is on the edge of on the edge of the fence, right, or sitting on the fence about doing it, like my mate Jack, who I mentioned before, right, he's from Birmingham. He's a tiler. All his videos were he just put his phone in the corner, recorded himself doing tiling. He didn't even speak in any of his videos. Recorded himself doing tiling, and you touched on it before, that visual aspect and even the audio aspect, because it is satisfying to listen to as well. You can hear the scraping of the grout on the tiles, right, and everything.
Yeah.
Like he got millions of views on some of the videos that he uploaded. That's all it took, and literally he's pretty much fully booked now for like at least half a year in advance just from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's crazy, and yeah, if you are like on the edge of on the edge or sitting on the fence for that, just you don't even need to speak in your videos. Like I've just given the best example there, where you can
Yeah.
literally
Like
just record
work doing
yourself doing.
talking.
Yeah, exactly. Because construction, you said like you touched on it before, the visual aspect, the audio aspect of it. It doesn't take much for the videos to be interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like there was a guy I think he was driving a grab truck, and all he did he was just recording himself driving it the whole day. He didn't speak in any of his videos on Instagram, and even that gets like hundreds of thousands of views. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, because I watch, like I say before, World of Fab and stuff, and I haven't got an engineering background or anything, but I find watching engineering and anything like that so interesting, and it's actually therapeutic for me. I can relax doing it, because for me personally, I have a lot of respect for anyone that's got real high level of skill set in an area that I've not got, as well as areas that I've got. So watching people deploy their trade, be it tiling, be it repairing diggers, be it construction, as a sort of an outsider is really interesting. But yeah, like I say, it's a really, really unique time and a great time to be embarking upon your career, even if you're just interested in getting a job and you don't want to do business, or starting a business, running a business, growing a business. And you know what? It's only going to get more exciting, and there's only going to be more opportunities. So I'm here for the ride. Like I can't remember if I said before, but when I turned 40 last year, and I've got a very simple metric now, which I've said in my episodes, is that I ask whatever comes my way, or whatever opportunity I get, or whatever issue I've got. My simple thing is, do I enjoy it? Does it make me happy? Yeah. And if it does, I'll do more of it. And if I don't, I'll do less of it. And I'll try and work out my life. And honestly, it's so simplistic, but it's been a real epiphany for me. That's like, and I guess that's it's probably a bit deeper than we thought we'd go, but in my business, there's bits of my business that I used to do because I had to do it, and I'm quite a micromanager, a bit of a perfectionist, and I've let go of those bits because actually I didn't enjoy them. I just did them because I had to do them, and I never really took the time to get someone else to learn. So yeah, it's yeah, that's it. It's just an exciting time to be in this industry.
Yeah, I mean, what you just mentioned there resonated a lot with me personally, because you mentioned as long as you enjoy it, pretty much, just keep doing it. And if you're not enjoying something, see if there's other things that you can do, because it's never too late to change what you're doing, by the way. Like, if you just look at a lot of these celebrities that we all know, right? Whether it's, I mean, I read somewhere, I don't know if it's true, but Morgan Freeman got into acting in his 40s.
Yeah.
Right, which is just incredible to think, because like you said, you're 40 right now. It would be the equivalent of you just changing your whole, whatever you do right now, throwing it all in the bin and just starting something completely brand new.
Yeah.
And
It's huge.
it's never too late. Yeah, exactly. And it's never too late to
I
change what
totally
you
agree
do.
with that,
Yeah.
and I've like anything. So yeah, I mean, to do that, that's a very bold move. Like, think of me just changing careers now, but I'm very open minded to anything like that in life, and like I'm lucky in that because I'm so passionate about the industry that I'm in. There's new things like I've learned in this grab and aggregate game, and I thought I knew it, but I didn't. I don't know anything about it, and it's a real tough nut to crack because there's not a lot of people out there giving away free knowledge. But I really enjoy it, and that's what I do now. So I look at sort of new business opportunities, I look at bits of kit that we could buy, and that is essentially my hobby, which is adding those revenue streams and assets to the business, and that's like that really. So I didn't, in the nicest possible, I didn't need to set up a grab and aggregates business. I didn't really need the headache. I'm financially in a pretty decent position, but it just stimulated my brain, and I thought, you know what, I like the challenge, and I like the idea of. And I've watched Asheville, and I've watched D&J and a few others that I follow, and I thought, it looks fun, and yeah, it is fun, but it's also an expensive hobby. But yeah, me and Alex are willing to put our money where our mouths are. I say that all the time as well. If I believe in something and we do the numbers and it works, then we go for it.
100%, absolutely. And like, you guys are very much like, I know you have like aspirations and you want to get bigger than what you are, but a lot of people will see you guys as like pretty much near the top about, in terms of revenue, what you guys have built in terms of the companies and the different revenue streams and everything. If someone was, let's say someone was on the tools and they're maybe, because a lot of construction guys, that the typical route is that they leave, school 16, 17, become an apprentice, probably on the tools for 5 to 10 years, depending on how quick they get off him. They get off the tools, they start their own construction company. Usually they're a chippy when they're on the tools. That's just more often than not. And then, they basically go from there. But what advice would you give to someone if they're thinking about getting off the tools and starting their own business?
So the first advice I'll give, and I always give, and it's really simplistic, but it's like often not done, is just start, right? Start. And if you're in a lucky position, I wasn't in this position. I didn't have a skill or a trade, and if I'd had that technical background, if I could actually do the job on the tools myself, then I think I would have been further on. But if you've got that, then that is a huge plus point, because then you know more about what you're talking about. The business side can be learned. You can surround yourself with consultants, freelancers, people, mentors, whatever, who can teach you all that and advise you on that all the time. But to actually understand the technical aspect, that's a huge tick in the box. So just start, right? So my advice, because it's weird for me, because like you were just saying there, people look at us and think, oh, they've done really well, they're at the top of whatever. But I don't feel that. And I think this is what makes me and Alex a good partnership, is that we've got this sort of thing that runs through us, but we're never satisfied with what we've got. We're never comfortable, which is a good and a bad thing, because I do think having contentment in life's great, but professionally we're not, and so I won't be happy until I've got a group of companies doing tens of millions in revenue, or I'm at that point where I think, you know what, it's not fun anymore, I'll stop. And that's probably what I'm working towards, is to get to that point where I've got that freedom to say, you know what, I don't really enjoy that, I'm not going to do that anymore. or I don't enjoy that type of work, I'm not going to do that anymore. But at the moment, I'm probably not at that point yet where I've got that ultimate freedom. But yeah, my advice is dead simple: start and keep going, right? And again, it sounds really simplistic, and there's loads of other nuances of piece of advice I could give you, but that's the basic. And I'll tell you why starting is hard for him. For those reasons, if you've got kids, if you're earning good money, that's obviously an obstacle. Sometimes tradesmen these days, you're earning decent money. You can earn 100 grand a year being a tradesman these days. I'm not joking. I pay people that much that work for me. So some of the more like specialists like heating and electricians are earning that kind of money. And there's that. So start, walking away from a very well paid job, be bold, especially if you've got kids and responsibilities, but then keep going. And when I say keep going, is that you're going to get knocks, yeah? Every day in business, even when you've got a decent sized business like we have, is hard. Like, it's tiring, especially if you're trying to be a good dad, a good spouse, you're trying to be, a good friend, a good brother. It's really hard to wear all these hats. I have to be a good boss. I have to be a good accountant. I have to be a good marketeer. I have to be good technically, and it's draining. I go home and I'm done in some days. I talk about it on my episodes, is that I've got nothing left to give sometimes. I'm out of gas, and that's not great. I've got 3 kids and they want my time and attention. So it's not easy, and I get that. But what I will say, if you do keep going, it's not easy for a reason, and that's why there's not many people doing it. It's not easy because when you do get to the bit where it's easier, that's where the cream is. But there's less people there because they've given up, and I get that, right? I've got people that work for me that know more about the building industry than I'd ever know. In 2 lifetimes, brilliant, and they've been there. They've been in my shoes. They've built businesses, but you know what? They've said this isn't for me, and I respect that massively. So then they've gone and got a job with people like me, which is great. I need them, and they're fantastic assets for my business, and I massively respect their experience. And I need those people to, in my company, in our companies, to help me grow and develop it. So what I would say is keep going, yeah. Accept, yeah. Own the fact that there's going to be horrible days, yeah. Really, really shit days. That's the same in most businesses, most walks of life. But those days in business can join up, and it can be shit weeks, shit months, shit years. And you can swear on this podcast, sorry, mate.
No, you can go for it. Go
yeah. So if it's in construction, there's going to be a few swear words. So, but yeah, it's keep going, and then obviously, sort of below that, the more nuanced, more specific bits of advice to give is tell the story of your growth of your business. Tell the story when you've had a good day, a bad day. Let customers. I don't care whether you're a massive tier 1 contractor or you're just Johnny Plumber. Just let your customers know who you are and who they're buying from. Yeah. Get them to know you, good and bad. Yeah. And trust me, that pays dividends. That will give you that edge in any negotiation, put you that little bit in front of your competitors. As I say, I don't believe in competitors, but those other people that you're quoted against, it'll put you in front because they want to buy from you because they feel like they know you. And when people are giving up hundreds of thousands of pounds, which they do, our customers do, they want to know that it's in good hands, and that comes with time. But yeah, I don't want to make it any more complicated than that. Start, keep going. Start, keep going.
Yeah, that's really all it's about. And there's so many examples of like really rich people and really famous people who got absolutely nothing, the first few years that they started. I mean, I don't want to make this about me, but I work with a lot of construction business and with a lot of builders on their digital marketing. And when I first started out, bearing in mind I was at uni when I first started. So when I first started out, I didn't make a penny the first year and a half that I was doing it. Not even a penny. Like, there were so many people that I would work with completely for free just to make sure I can do what I'm saying I can do. And that's super important. And obviously in construction, you can't really do that because you're just putting you're literally giving your sweat to jobs a lot of the times, and you're spending so much time on jobs. But it's really just about, trying your hardest and giving it your all, and then never giving up until you're one of the best at what you do. And there's a guy called John Huffman on Instagram who's hopefully going to be coming on the podcast soon. And his videos are pretty incredible because one thing that I've noticed a lot with him is that the way he sells to his customers is very transparent. And you might even say over transparent, where he will literally tell them that problems will happen in the project, like things will mess up. There's going to be probably more expensive things. You probably have to pay for something more than you're bargaining for. But I'm going to be with you all every step of the way, and I'm going to help you get through it, and I'm going to make sure the project is finished on time, and I'm going to give my all to this project. And I think sometimes that's all that customers want to hear.
Yeah, well, so that's what we do as well. So it's funny that resonates with me because I'm exactly the same in that before we start a build for someone, I sit down with them and I say, look, building work is stressful. Doesn't matter how good the builder is, how experienced they are. Things go wrong because we're human beings and we're relying on human beings. Sometimes suppliers let you down. Sometimes even brand new vans break down. And I say, look, but the difference is between ourselves and other builders, I believe, is that we won't flannel you, we won't bullshit you, and we'll always, 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 always get the job done to the right standard. So I've had jobs where I've lost tens of thousands of pounds, like hundreds of thousands of pounds collectively, where it would have been cheaper for me to give the customer a contribution. So I think I mentioned one in an episode recently where the job went 70 grand over our budget, and we loads of factors. We messed up the pricing and this, that, and the other, but we finished it. But it would have been cheaper for me to give the customer £69,000. I would have been 69 grand. I would have been £1,000 better off. I would have been better off. So it's like, but integrity, reputation, everything that comes with it is so important. Like if I'd screwed that customer over, I wouldn't be sat here now with you. My brand would be terrible. I wouldn't have the guts to put myself out there on YouTube to be, and I know what it's like when you go on YouTube and social media. You are a bit of a target, and people look a bit closer at you, and you're in a glass house. So I wouldn't have the confidence we've not always done a good job. Trust me, like no builder has. We've had bad jobs in us, but I know that we've always done our best to leave a customer satisfied at the end. They might say, you know what, that wasn't a nice experience. They didn't do a great job, but they got the job done. They did what they said they got to do, and we've got respect for them. And I think, by and large, I can't think in 15 years, I can't think of a customer that wouldn't say that about us. And if there is, I'd like to speak to them because I'd want to do something about it.
Yeah, 100%. And it's so important. The thing is, there's a lot of builders out there who might mess up a job and they might just vanish. And they think in the short term, in the sense that they might mess up a job and think, oh, this is going to, cost me another 10K. Obviously margins are gone at that point. Then you have to start pulling it out from your pocket. And, like just a month ago, my dad wanted his driveway doing, and he just asked me, Hussein, can you go to the neighbors and ask them who did their driveway? Because they got theirs done a few months ago. And I was like, all right, I'll go to their house. Knocked on the neighbor's house and I asked them, who did your driveway? Were they good? And they just said awful, absolutely awful. And they just went on like a 15-20 minute rant about everything that they messed up on. And they just said about how they're not picking up the phone. Apparently it's a guy who's gone to Scotland or something. And, I was thinking in my head, what if they didn't mess up the job, or what if they at least tried to fix the job, and kept their reputation intact? They would have had another job from me pretty much straight after that. And that's what a lot of people don't think about, and they don't take it into consideration.
Well, your reputation, I mean, you can apply that to every sector, and it's a very broad statement, but your reputation is everything. Like, like I said to you, we've done jobs and the experience for the customer hasn't been as good as it could be because we've maybe used a subcontractor that wasn't good enough, or a member of the team has let us down, or we've just been too busy. That's a real key thing in the industry. This is what happened to me a couple of years ago. We just got too busy because there was so much work, and we tried to force the growth of the company. But at the end of it, I've never been afraid to just hold our hands up and say, look, I'm really sorry. We should have done this differently, but let us finish the job. And at the end of it, all I can ask for is you say, thanks very much, Chris. The job's great. The experience wasn't as good as before it could have been, but here's our feedback. If you're willing to accept it, which we always are, and we think you've shown integrity. And I've had that exact conversation with customers in the past, because when you grow in any business, I've got fantastic tradesmen, like brilliant, like ones that people are trying to poach day in, day out for me. But they've had bad days, they've made a decision that probably they wouldn't have made on another day. People are human, they've got their own lives, they've got problems in their own personal life that sometimes affects their ability to work. This will happen to you, it'll happen to me. I've been at work and I've overreacted to a situation, or I've treated a customer probably a bit short when I shouldn't have done, because I've had something going at home, or I've had an issue at work elsewhere not connected to them. And that happens, with human beings, like I always say. The mind's a very strange thing. But if at the core of your values, you say to yourself, you will never knowingly rip someone off, you'll never knowingly do a bad job for financial gain, then you'll be fine. And if you coincide that with starting and keep going, you underpin that with reputation, and off that, you build your social media, you will do well. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Don't get me wrong, there's loads of external factors that can ruin a good business. You can grow too fast, you can get ripped off. There's good customers and bad customers too. That's a different podcast I could talk to you about as well. But if you just protect your reputation and your brand at all costs, and you keep going, you will be successful, and you will be invited onto podcasts like this to talk about your success. I promise you.
Yeah, 100%. And it sounds simple, but it's so shocking about the amount of people that just don't do the basics well. Like I just told you about my dad wanting his driveway done, right? And he basically asked me just to find people in the local area to do it. And the amount I've learned just from that simple task, because we've not had really needing a job done in our house for a while now, for a good couple of years. And like I would call like 10 builders, 2 might pick up, none of those might call back, for example. Just simple things like that, the basics that they're just not doing well. Yeah, they're really overlooked. So yeah. All right, what I'm going to do is, so we're rounding off the podcast now, so I'm going to have like one final question, and then I'll ask you like an interesting bonus question at the end. So now that you're at the point where you are, the YouTube is doing very well, your Instagram is doing very well, social media is going well, you've got a lot of traction, which is amazing. What does the future look like for you, and what things are you really prioritizing to build and build more of in the future?
Well, so touching on what I said before, anything I do going from this day forward, going forward, is underpinned by that simple question: does it make me happy? Yeah. If it makes me happy, then I'll do it. Yeah. So for me, it's all about making the company as it is now as good as it can be. And to do that, you've got to make sure it's performing well financially, which, we do big turnover, but, we could make more profit. There's quite a lot of wastage in the company. So we're really trying to get under the bonnet of the company and fix little things that we've probably been ignoring because we've had good times. And actually, if there is a downturn, like there pretty much is at the moment, and there might be for a year, who knows, then that's the best time to get under the bonnet and, tweak the engine. I think that I want to work on this grab and aggregate side, because I believe in vertical strategies in business, right? So my interpretation of that is a business like, say, Amazon, that in-houses pretty much everything they're spending money on. In Amazon's case, it's fulfillment, it's delivery, it's everything that they've had to push out and have spent money on. They've in-house. They're well known for doing it. So I want to build the grab and aggregate side, because we haven't got a retail side of our business. I like the idea of buying a product or even making a product with the recycling side and selling it out. So I'm going to be working on that hard now for the next sort of probably 12 to 24 months, if not longer, and seeing where that takes us. We might see that, I'd love it if that side of the business blew up. I want to, keep going on the YouTube side purely because I enjoy it, not for any kind of validation. I know there might be some financial benefit eventually, but I'm not doing it for that because there's easier ways to make money. I want to grow that side because I want to get to meet good, like-minded people like yourself and like the people that I've met in the industry. With Alex, I want to grow the property side and really see where that takes us. We don't take a penny out of our property portfolio yet, but our aim is down the line. That's what will give us the freedom. And then, build the little businesses around that, like the letting agency we're building at the moment. We've got a shop and we're getting that set up and stuff. And just, being happy, like, doing things that create an environment and a lifestyle that makes the people important to me personally and professionally, makes their lives happier. I'm fortunate, and people that watch the episodes will know, I work with some of my best friends. Like, they literally are my brother and my best mates and stuff. And I come to work every so I want the people that work for me and with me and my family to have the best lives, and I believe that it's my responsibility to do that.
Yeah, I mean that's what it comes down to, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's providing your family the best life possible so that you can experience the best moments you possibly could in life, whether it's, going on to the best holidays, buying the best things. At the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to, and sharing those experiences together and making each other happy and staying happy as well for the rest of your life, which is, really what your main goal is. But yeah, that's perfect. Thank you for hopping on, Chris. What I'm going to do is I've stolen this idea from Mr. Stephen Bartlett, but basically what he does at the end of a diary of a CEO, where he gets the guest to ask a question to the next guest, which is coming on. So you already have an idea about who it's going to be. It was the commercial giant that I mentioned from the US. So he's called Marshall Wilkinson, if anyone doesn't know. But what question would you like to ask him? If you could ask
okay, well, there's a couple really. I mean, I was just literally, my brain was racing there. I'd love to know just that simple question: what makes people happy? But if I had to pick one question, and I think that's very relevant to your next guest if they're in big business, and this is what I get asked by a lot of people, but really simple and not in a patronising or condescending way. I'd like to know, when is enough enough?
Ooh, that is a good one. That is a very deep one. I'm sure it will get him to open up into what his direction is and what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Boy, that's amazing. It's
I
been an
ask
absolute.
that because I do get asked that all the time because, from an outsider's point of view, it looks like we've got this big group of businesses and big in our world. It's great. We've got nice material things and whatnot. However, so when is enough enough? And I've not been able to answer that question yet. I haven't been able to answer that yet. So I'm fascinated to know what someone else's answer to that is.
Yeah. It's a tough question as well, because like if you just think about really successful people, whether it's people like, Ronaldo, Messi in sport, or you've got Jeff Bezos, like you mentioned, Amazon, Elon Musk, all these giants, all these tech giants, like you just think about the day that they're gonna retire, or what if you want to call it retiring or stopping what they're doing, whatever it is. It's a tough one, and like I think so. It's more of a thing of it's more of a time that you feel rather than anticipate, isn't it? It's more like maybe a couple of week period where you just feel like you don't feel like you enjoy it as much as you probably used to.
So my answer is a bit of a theme that's kind of run through this podcast is I think maybe I don't know what is enough, but I think that I'll know when, like I said before, it stops being fun. When whatever I'm doing in life, when it stops being fun, maybe that's enough.
Yeah. That's I think that's an answer everyone will echo as well. Because at the end of the day, if you don't feel like doing the work or going to work the next day or waking up in the morning to go to work, then that's might be a sign that you should either do something else or either stop doing it. But everyone has their own story to write. So yeah, it's been a pleasure, Chris. Thank you for hopping on, mate.
And you, mate.
This has been amazing. I myself have been very nervous, as everyone could probably tell. But yeah,
No, you're
hopefully
good, mate.
you guys have
You're
enjoyed it.
really good. Keep it up. Start and keep going. Simple.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one interesting statistic that I looked into was that 99% of podcasts don't make it to episode 21. So
Yeah.
that's something that's like my target in my head. That like I'm gonna hit that, just so at least I'm in the top 1%.
Good, man. I'll follow it
Yeah.
closely.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, mate. Thank you for listening, guys. If you're on YouTube, like the video and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, I think it's a follow button on Spotify. I'm not even sure myself, but yeah, if you're on Instagram, then click follow. And if you've not somehow checked out Chris on EveryTrade, then make sure you check out the YouTube. Give them a follow on Instagram as well. But thanks for watching, guys. See you guys next time.